The moment you die, a black-robed judge opens your record and decides where your soul will land. His name is Enma-Ō. He doesn't care how you died. He only cares what you deserve. If you stole, he knows. If you lied, he knows. If you lived a life pretending to be good, he knows. Enma-Ō does not scream or threaten. He waits. And when you arrive before his throne, it is already too late to explain anything. In my fourth scroll, it is said that the dead arrive barefoot, carrying the weight of their memories, and the moment they meet Enma-Ō, they forget what they thought they deserved, because he shows them what they truly are. He sits in the center of Mythology, the dark realm between life and final judgment. Souls do not go directly to heaven or hell in Japanese belief. They pass through this waiting ground. It is quiet, cold, endless, and at the center of that endlessness sits the king. The souls wait. Some cry, some beg, some kneel. But Enma-Ō never moves until the time is exact. His court is filled with Oni scribes who write everything you ever did, from the first lie you told as a child to the last secret you hid before death. He reads your karmic record aloud, and the room remains silent. There is no debate, no trial, only truth, read like a sentence already carved in stone. The scrolls say that when he reaches the end of your record, a bell rings behind his throne. That sound means your fate has been decided. You are not allowed to speak, not because you're forbidden, but because your voice no longer exists. You are now judgment, not a person. Enma-Ō raises one finger. The guards know what to do. Some souls are dragged, some collapse, some walk willingly. They are taken to one of the 6 realms of rebirth, or if their karma is too heavy, to one of the hills, Jigoku, the place where sins are paid in pain, ice, fire, or endless labor. But even the worst demons in Jigoku bow when Enma-Ō speaks, because in this realm there is no higher law, no appeal, only the final judgment. Enma-Ō appears in many forms throughout Japanese art, sometimes tall and elegant in black robes, sometimes horned and monstrous, but always watching, always calm. Some temples depict him holding a mirror. This is not a symbol of vanity. It is the mirror of karma. When you look into it, you do not see your face. You see your actions, every betrayal, every kindness, every time you thought no one noticed. It is said that when even the gods feel unsure, they consult Enma-Ō, because even they know that karma does not blink. My third scroll describes one story in which a soul tried to deceive him, pretended to have forgotten his crimes. Enma-Ō did not react. He simply ordered the Oni to open the mirror. The soul screamed, not because of the judgment, but because it had finally remembered everything. All at once, the room was silent again. No one needed to speak. Enma-Ō stood, walked slowly to the soul, and whispered something no one else heard. The next moment, the soul was gone. The record ended, and the bell rang again. That was not a punishment. That was mercy. The scroll does not say what he whispered, only that the Oni who overheard it never wrote again. Some believe Enma-Ō was once a mortal man who ascended through merit. Others say he is a form of Yama, the ancient Indian god of death. Either way, he now governs the space between endings, and he does it with silence sharper than any blade. In Japan, death is not a closing. It is a sorting, a weighing of truths. The ones who pass through Enma-Ō's court are not punished unfairly. They are simply placed where they belong, because karma is not revenge. It is balance. And Enma-Ō is the hand that keeps the scale from breaking. In my 6th scroll, there is a tale whispered by monks who never left the mountain. It speaks of a man once feared in life, a high magistrate who ruled courtrooms like a god. He sentenced hundreds, sometimes by evidence, often by ego. To him, justice meant dominance. When his final breath left him, He crossed into the realm beyond with no doubt in his heart. He believed Enma would welcome him with honor, perhaps even offer him a seat among the judges of the dead. But what awaited was no throne. Enma sat unmoving, surrounded by drifting spirits in absolute silence. The magistrate stepped forward, clearing his throat to announce himself, but Enma remained still. Then the mirror was brought forth, not one of silver or glass, but flame and memory. The magistrate saw every sentence he had spoken, replayed not with his words, but through the eyes of those who suffered, victims he had mocked, pleas he had ignored, faces of the innocent who had begged for mercy, and beside each, the hidden motive that had twisted his decision, bribes taken, biases entertained, moments of cruelty dressed as law. The magistrate stumbled back, insisting the mirror was flawed. That power had forced his hand, that someone else was to blame. But Enma's silence continued like stone. The air grew heavier. The souls around him began to fade. The ground beneath his feet changed. The courtroom marble became ash. Then, with one gesture, Enma cast judgment. A chasm opened, not of fire, but gray emptiness. The magistrate fell in screaming, not in pain, but in denial. He was sent not to torture, but to the echoing void where souls scream forever at reflections they refuse to recognize. That was his punishment. Not fire, not chains, but a mirror that never breaks. In the halls that follow, beyond the judgment chamber, my seventh scroll describes a corridor few dare to remember. Souls who pass Enma's judgment do not simply vanish. They walk one by one through the path of regret. It is not a tunnel nor a bridge, but a shifting corridor of memories. With each step, they relive the precise moment their fate was sealed. A lie told, a choice ignored, a betrayal justified. The walls show no mercy. They are alive with images painted in flame and ink, showing not what the soul remembers, but what truly happened. And at the very end of the corridor stands a gate made of bone lacquered with gold, inscribed in characters no one alive could read. This gate leads to their assigned destination, rebirth, punishment, or silence. But sometimes a soul stops walking. They freeze before the gate, unable to move forward, unable to look away. When that happens, Enma does not send guards or demons. He arrives himself, calm, still, unavoidable. He walks to the soul and says nothing. He simply raises his hand and touches the air in front of their face. And suddenly, they scream, not from pain, but from truth. That final act forces them through the gate. Whether it is into hell, into a lower form of life, or into an endless field of nothingness, no one knows. The scroll ends there, torn, burned at the edge. Whatever came next was not meant to be written. Before Enma became the judge of the afterlife, he knew what it meant to make decisions no one else wanted to carry. He had ruled a kingdom, once, not as a tyrant or saint, but as a man who chose the hard path every time. When a rebellion broke out, led by his own son, Enma didn't hesitate. He ordered the execution himself, not because he lacked love, but because mercy in the wrong hands becomes poison. That moment didn't break him. It sharpened him. It stripped away the illusion that justice was kind. The gods saw it too. They didn't reward him. They reassigned him. Now, as judge of the dead, Enma still doesn't flinch. He sees through every plea, every fake tear, every noble excuse. He doesn't argue. He simply points, left or right, heaven or hell, and the room obeys. There is one tale often whispered by monks near the older shrines of Kyoto. They speak of a man named Riku, a thief who spent his life robbing temples and selling relics to foreign collectors. He believed no god watched him. No karma would ever catch up. But when he died, the monks say, his soul arrived not in flames, but in silence. He stood before Enma, confident, even smirking. "You've got nothing on me. Riku said. "I was clever, careful. I never got caught." Enma said nothing. He simply waved a single finger. Behind Riku, 1,000 voices erupted, the cries of every spirit disturbed by his theft. Priests who died defending their relics. Families cursed by the objects he sold. The ground cracked open and a mirror rose from below. In it, Riku saw his true face, a twisted blend of greed and fear. That's when the floor collapsed, and Riku was gone. The monks say Enma never spoke a word, because he doesn't have to. Your life tells him everything. Enma-Ō is not a symbol. He is not a myth people invented to scare children. He is the one who looks into your deeds and sees past every excuse. He is a god, not one who grants wishes, but one who ensures consequences. Not all gods are prayed to. Some are faced. And when your time runs out, Enma-Ō does not ask for your name. He already knows it. His domain is not covered in flames or gold. It is quiet, gray, endless, with no walls and no ceiling. Only a low mist that swirls around the feet of the souls brought before him. Each soul stands alone, facing a massive black desk carved from stone, behind which Enma sits motionless. His face never changes. His eyes never blink, yet he knows everything. The moment a soul appears, he already holds a book filled with the deeds of their life. Not just what they did, but why they did it. Whether they stole out of hunger or hate, whether they killed out of mercy or pleasure. Enma reads not just actions, but intentions. He does not punish, he assigns. A soul with too much darkness may be reborn as a worm, crawling through filth. A soul with unfinished business might be sent back, not as a human, but as a wind that can never speak, only wander. A rare soul, balanced in virtue and flaw, might pass through the mist and vanish beyond, but no one begs him. No one protests, because everyone, in that moment, already knows where they belong. The souls don't arrive to be welcomed. They're processed, lined up in silence, stripped of their names, identities, and achievements. One by one, they kneel before Enma-Ō. He does not ask questions. He does not need confessions. Red and blue Oni bring forward the scrolls, but not the kind that tell what someone claimed. These record what was actually done. Enma-Ō reads the entries aloud, his voice cold and calm. You stole from your brother. You lied to avoid disgrace. You watched suffering and did nothing. Each line cuts deeper than the last. Some try to speak. Nothing comes out. In this chamber, the truth speaks and the soul listens. No one interrupts. No one bargains. When judgment ends, the ground opens. Not in fire, in silence. Some fall, some rise. It is recorded in my 9th scroll. A woman arrived before Enma-Ō without a tongue. In life, she had cut it out herself to protect a secret. She believed that by removing her ability to speak, the truth would die with her. But Enma-Ō does not ask questions. He does not need confessions. The Oni scribes laid out her record in full, not the version she tried to protect, but everything that truly happened. Her silence had delayed justice. While she remained quiet, others were blamed, punished, and even killed. What she thought was sacrifice became cowardice in the light of consequence. Enma-Ō read her actions aloud, one by one, as she knelt in silence. Not because she could not speak, but because there was nothing left to say. When the last line was read, Enma-Ō did not raise his voice. He simply looked at her. Then the floor opened. Not to flames, but to a gray descent. A realm where voices echo but no one listens. Where silence is endless and secrets rot inside those who never spoke. That was her sentence. Not punishment through pain, but through reflection. A place where every thought is finally heard, only by the self. Another record in my 2nd scroll speaks of a monk who lived with the illusion of purity. In the world of the living, he was revered. People knelt before him, believing his words were closer to the gods than their own prayers. But when he died, Enma-Ō was not impressed by robes or chants. The Oni scribes presented the truth. The monk had accepted offerings from the poor, knowing they gave more than they could afford. He had remained silent when injustice walked beside him, valuing peace over courage. In one instance, he convinced a grieving family to donate all they had to the temple, promising their son's spirit would be at peace. The boy had died from abuse, and the monk knew. He said nothing. At judgment, Enma-Ō read each silence as if it were a scream. You knew. You chose comfort. The monk tried to explain, to speak of intention, of tradition, of limitations. But Enma-Ō does not debate. He only reads. When the floor opened, it led not to fire, but to a hallway of mirrors. The monk was sent to a place where every wall reflected the faces of those he failed, endlessly walking toward him, never reaching, always watching. There are souls who arrive trembling, confessing their wrongs before Enma-Ō speaks a single word, not out of fear, but because something in them demands to be seen completely. And oddly enough, these are the ones who sometimes walk away lighter. In one case found in my 6th scroll, a soldier who murdered civilians during wartime entered the judgment hall already weeping. He had spent his final years rebuilding what he once destroyed, not seeking redemption, but simply unable to do anything else. He confessed every act, every face he remembered, and asked for no mercy. Enma-Ō listened in silence, then nodded once. The floor did not open beneath him. Instead, a light appeared behind the throne, and the soldier was pulled into a realm of quiet wind and open skies. Rebirth is not reward, it is reflection. Sometimes, a life lived in regret becomes a bridge to higher ground. Not because the wrongs are erased, but because they are carried honestly, with no attempt to hide their weight. There are assistants in Enma-Ō's court who never speak. They wear long veils over their faces, and their hands are always clasped in front of them. They stand on either side of the soul, being judged, unmoving. At first glance, they seem ornamental, like statues placed to enhance the gravity of the room. But when a soul lies, when a single part of its presence denies what the scroll reveals, these assistants raise their right hand and point. That's all. They do not accuse. They do not speak. But the moment that finger rises, Enma-Ō closes the scroll and declares sentence. It is said that these beings can see not only what a soul did, but why. They detect dishonesty not in words, but in the posture of the spirit itself. In one account from my first scroll, a nobleman tried to rewrite the events of his death, claiming betrayal and innocence. The assistant's finger rose before he even finished the sentence. He was gone before the lie could complete itself. In that court, truth does not require proof. It reveals itself in silence. When Enma-Ō judges a soul, he does not see only sin or virtue. He sees direction. Every soul is sent not simply to punishment or reward, but to one of 6 realms. The worst go to the Naraka, the hell realms. Others, consumed by endless hunger for love or recognition, become gaki, spirits forever starving. Some are reborn as beasts, instinct-driven and unaware. The arrogant and aggressive, even if once human, may enter the Asura realm, battling without end. A few return as humans again, not as a gift, but as a test, to try again. And then, the rarest ones rise to the heavenly realm, where desire fades and clarity begins. My 5th scroll describes a mother who raised children not her own, gave away everything, and died forgotten. Her judgment was not dramatic. Enma-Ō said only, balance maintained. Then the floor shimmered with light, and she vanished upward. The 6 paths are not doors. They are mirrors. Each soul goes where it already belongs. There are moments when judgment does not come, not immediately. When the scroll is opened and the entries seem perfectly balanced, a kindness for every cruelty, a betrayal for every sacrifice. Even the Oni scribes hesitate. In such cases, the chamber freezes. The assistants stop breathing. Enma-Ō remains still. No sentence is spoken. Once, a monk who led a rebellion and later saved hundreds during a plague stood before judgment. No path appeared beneath him. Days passed in the hall. The monk did not speak, nor was he questioned. Eventually, Enma-Ō closed the scroll and whispered, "Not yet." The soul was placed in suspension, neither reborn nor condemned. It remains somewhere between all realms, watched but untouched. Some say Enma-Ō waits for a final event in the world of the living to tip the balance. Others believe these rare souls become judges themselves, somewhere deeper than the court we know. Either way, when judgment freezes, something greater is at stake than one life. It is the weight of two truths held in one hand. There is a final detail almost always overlooked by those who speak of Enma-Ō, the book he does not read. Behind the throne, past the shelves of endless scrolls and the veiled assistants who never sleep, lies a single black volume wrapped in braided cords. It is never opened in front of the condemned. Its pages are not filled with sins or virtues, but names of those who altered the judgment of others. These are not souls who lived immorally, but those who manipulated destiny, tampered with karmic flow, or intervened where balance was not theirs to control. To appear in this book is not to be judged. It is to be removed entirely from the wheel. No rebirth, no punishment, no memory. They do not fall or rise. They disappear. It is said that a priest once discovered the existence of this volume during a near-death experience. When revived, he spoke of a chamber behind the court where the walls pulsed with breath and a black book floated above a silent altar. He had seen his own name written in red. Days later, he vanished during meditation, body and all. There was no sign of struggle, no disturbance in the air, only the smell of smoke and the soft imprint of a finger pressed into the floor. Whether Enma-Ō himself places names in this book or whether it writes itself remains unknown. But all agree, if the scrolls reveal truth, the book reveals consequence too vast to be spoken aloud. There was once a man who stood before Enma-Ō wearing the face of a saint. His record glowed with acts of charity, mercy, and sacrifice. The Oni scribes murmured among themselves, surprised by what they read. "He saved lives," one whispered. "He gave away all he owned," said another. A rare soul, they thought, perhaps even worthy of ascension. The man bowed humbly, eyes downcast, body still. But when Enma-Ō finally spoke, he asked only one question. "Why is there blood on your shadow?" Silence fell. The man did not move. The scribes looked again, and now the ink ran red. The truth surfaced. The man had staged his good deeds. He gave to the poor with stolen wealth. He saved lives after putting them in danger. He lied to saints and murdered sinners who threatened his reputation. His kindness was a performance, his virtue a mask. Enma-Ō did not shout. He did not explain. He simply closed the scroll and pointed downward. A trapdoor opened, and the man fell, screaming for mercy that had never truly belonged to him. In Enma-Ō's court, there are no masks, only the truth.